What's up YouTube? New video here. You know me, let's get right to the chase. So why you feel weaker at 35 than you did at 25? So what everyone assumes is you're just getting older, right? This is what I hear all the freaking time. I'm just getting older, right? I'm just getting slower. I'm just getting less athletic. I'm just getting weaker. But what's actually going on is five very, very simple things that you can clean up very quickly to start to feel, to start to regain some of that strength you had when you were younger, when you were 25, early 20s. So let's get right into it. So the first one here is your training got smaller, not smarter, right? You've been doing the same weight, the same reps for years. You've been running the same exact program you got off freaking Instagram, or you got off, Instagram template for absolute, like a ridiculous amount of time, and there's no new stimulus, right? And so one with that is you're never going to stimulate your muscles in different ways. So you're never going to get any new strength. And two, this is how burnout happens, right? You're going to get burnt out. And then with burnout, a lot of people don't actually realize they're burnt out because they keep going to the gym, but the energy that they're putting into their workouts is shittier, right? Less energy. And so with less energy, you're not going to be able to push as hard in the workouts. And then obviously with that, right, no new strength and your ceiling will stop moving. Very, very simple, right? But people don't understand that, I'm not saying that you can't get lots of gains running the same program for a long time. It's just that, as you get older, things will have to change. And if you're still running the same program that you did, years and years ago, as you get older, you're not getting any new stimulus and you're not going to get any new strength. Number two here, again, very simple. Like I said, these five things are super, super simple that you probably know of, just that you're not aware of. So two, your recovery quietly got worse, right? Worse sleep, more stress, no deloads. And the deloads thing is, a lot of people don't actually know what a deload is. A deload is when you take, usually it's about a week. It can go up to 2 weeks, depending on how you're training and what your goals are. But a deload is it's a period of time, like I said, usually a week, where you're taking a big break of your training. So let's say you push really, really hard, and then you don't have as much energy because you've been, going at it for 5 to 6 weeks. Usually deloads happen around after 4 to 8 weeks of heavy training. And so at about the 4 to 8 week mark is when I generally recommend deloads for all my clients. Again, it varies depending on your goals, depending on your age, your injury history, and what actually you're doing. But like I said, deloads is a huge thing that most people that are older don't take. And the reason is because, one, they just don't know what it is. And number two is that they feel like they're not working hard, and they feel guilty taking a deload. Whereas it's actually like a slingshot, right? You take a week to recover. Usually you drop your volume, your sets, and your reps by about at least 50%. So you're just doing way, way less stuff. A lot of walking, right? Walking is a great low volume tool that doesn't add any strenuous stuff to your workouts. But you'll take a week, just rest, recoup, relax, and what happens is after that, after that week is over, you can push again. And then, like I said, it's like a slingshot to where you're kind of going back that week, right? You're not losing any muscle or speed or athleticism. You're just resting, after 4 to 8 weeks of pushing hard. But again, you have to push hard throughout those 4 to 8 weeks, or else you're just deloading for nothing. And so you take the deload slingshot, you go back, boom, and then you catapult into even more strength, even more athleticism, even more speed. And so number two here, to keep going, what I was saying is your recovery just keeps getting worse, right? More sleep with kids, family, job, whatever it may be, more stress, and then obviously no deloads. I just went into that. And then your body never fully rebuilds, right? You train tired more than you train fresh. And what I want you guys to understand is all of these five topics that I'm covering today, they're all connected, right? You saw how I talked about the burnout here, number one, and your training got smaller, not smarter. You can burn out. But you can burn out here too, right? Because if your recovery keeps getting shittier, if you feel less energetic, you're eventually going to burn out. There's no way around it. I don't care how dedicated you are. If you have no energy and your recovery is shit and trash and you're not doing anything to fix that, you're eventually going to burn out. And then you train tired more than you train fresh. And just like I said in the first one, is like if you're always training tired, you're never going to get as strong as you could. Number 3 here is a huge one. Mobility neglect shrunk your range. So mobility, you have the same narrow range of motion for years. You're never actually doing anything to fix your mobility, right? Flexibility, mobility, you're never actually stretching, right? Stretching is one thing, but flexibility and mobility are two completely different things, right? Stretching is when you're just holding something, right? And stretching it. Mobility is actually moving it through dynamic range so you can actually use that flexibility. Because if you're just stretching and if you're just doing flexibility stuff all the time, that's just injury waiting to happen because you're not actually strong in those ranges. And so you never actually do any mobility work. You have the same narrow range of motion for years, like I said. And like I was just saying, strength only shows up in the range you train. And so you'll end up losing strength outside that range. So if you're only training, let's say you're doing a shoulder press and you're only training this portion. I know it's hard to see with this circle camera, but you won't be strong in the absolute top. You won't be strong in the absolute bottom because 1, you're not training full range, and 2, your mobility is trash because you never actually work on it. So that's number 3 here. Number 4, you stop training fast. Another thing here. People don't think this correlates to strength and how weak you feel, but it does. You never do any jumps, you never do any sprints, you never do any explosive lifts. And the thing that people don't understand is power is the first athletic quality to go, right? Without you even knowing. And so this is the thing is like, you don't train power. It goes away. The first quality that goes away, like I said, is power and speed. And you feel slow before you feel weak, but that's all connected, right? It's also like a mindset thing. Is like if you go out one day and you want to play with your son and he wants you to like run with him or sprint with him and you can't do that. Sure, that doesn't technically mean you lost strength, right? You did, but it doesn't technically mean that. Indirectly you did, but let's just keep it, relative. Directly you didn't lose strength, but mentality-wise, you feel weaker because you can't do that thing anymore. And so training fast, being able to move your strength relatively quick and produce force is very important. And most people ages of 35 and up, even 30 and up, even late 20s and up, people just don't train power anymore because they think they don't need to because they're not professional athletes. They're not training for a sport. When in reality, if you don't, you're going to lose it very quick and you'll just feel slower and weaker. Last but not least, this is a huge one as well. Probably the biggest one, honestly. And it's a little bit different. Life stress raised your baseline tension, right? Like I was saying earlier, job, bills, family, there's always something. Every single day, there's something new that will raise your stress. And people don't understand is that you're never going to be your strongest. You're never going to be your quickest. You're never going to be your most athletic if you're always stressed. You can do every single little thing perfectly. Your nutrition, your sleep, your recovery, your strength work. You can have the perfect program. But if you're always stressed, your body will sit in low-grade fight or flight. And that will be the same case when you go to the gym, when you go do some power work, when you do yard work, when you have to pay the bills. And then it just accumulates, and then eventually it'll bleed into your training. And you're going to have less, again, like these two, like you will have less energy left over to train hard. Guys, like they're all connected. Every single thing here relates back to your training is just going to get shittier. And so the thing is, guys, like none of this is about turning 35. None of this is about getting older. It's 5 very simple things that quietly stack up. By quietly, I mean you don't actually realize that these things are stacking up until it's too late, until you've lost it. And it's 5 things that quietly stack up while nobody was paying attention. You're not aware of it because of your job. You're not aware of it because of your kids, because you have so much more going on. You need to fix the actual causes, and the strength will come back easily, right? Muscle memory, it'll come back no matter what year you were born. And so you see there's videos online of multiple people in their 60s, 70s. We're not even talking about 35, 40. We're talking about dudes that are older, way older, that are able to do things that people way younger aren't able to do because they kept at it, right? I'm not here claiming that, you're going to be you're going to be your best at 6 years old. No, obviously everyone knows the older you get, naturally your progress will decline. That's not what I'm claiming. But what I'm claiming is people blame age on everything. They blame age on them not being able to do anything. And that's not the case. So you just need to fix these 5 qualities. Fix these 5 qualities and everything will go back to normal, right? 1, training got smaller, not smarter. 2, your recovery. 3, mobility. 4, you stop training fast. And 5, stress, which ties it all together. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know me, I really cut to the chase. There's no bullshit. I'm trying to provide as much value as possible. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, drop a comment if you have any questions. I'll see you guys next time. Let's get it.